Oh, what an exhausting day. Oh, I should check my mailbox. Oh, it's finally here. I've been waiting forever for this to arrive. Now, where to hang this thing? It's pretty big, so why don't we just replace this thing? Wait a minute. This isn't what I ordered. I ordered the burning skull. Hello, welcome back to another episode of Minecraft The Journey with me, bugmancx. We are currently playing Minecraft Beta 1.2 and we're in the beta area where we've been developing this area to become what will be a sort of fishing village. I've got my giant house going on up here and I've got a log factory warehouse sort of thing going on over here. And behind me, I've started working on developing the fishing village. This is the area where people will come to live. The people who work here at the lake and do the fishing and all of that sort of thing, they live out here. So we've built a few little different houses. They're not very big and they don't have very many amenities inside. You know, they've just got the basics. They're not very well off people, unfortunately. So this is all they can afford. I've got a wooden house here going on with a little upstairs bit. Over here, I've got a cobble house going on as well with I guess a little bed and some seats to sit on. Over here we've got a slightly, maybe a little bit more expensive house because it has an exterior porch, but there's hardly anything inside at all. A bookshelf and a bed and a tiny little deck area out here as well. And I've enjoyed making these little houses, and I'm really hoping that the effect at the end will be that there are a lot of little houses like this all dotted around the place and very, very close together. There's even a couple up here as well. There's one up here on the mountain, and soon there will be another one just up here where I've laid down these planks. Right now we're playing Minecraft Beta 1.2 and we've been playing this version for quite a while, as I've said many times before, and that's because this version was such a bumper update for this period of the game's development. But we are now so close to upgrading, I can taste it. There are a couple more blocks that I want to have a look at before we wrap up this version and upgrade to the next one, and then there are 2 interim upgrades in between this version and Minecraft Beta 1.3. So, I'm keen to have a look at these now so we can finally get ourselves upgraded. We're all very familiar with the sand block, but now we can craft sand into sandstone, and we should be able to use this to obviously build some things. Here's the sandstone. I'm going to create myself a full stack of sandstone blocks here to play with. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. There we go. Let's have a little bit of a look at the sandstone block. So it does look like it's made up of a kind of brick-like texture. It's got a different texture to the sand on the top here. It's quite a bit different. In fact, if we run down to the beach here, we should be able to see what it looks like when it's mixed in with other sand blocks. Yeah, you see it doesn't have as much of the noise to it. It's a much more clean texture. But the side of the block is considerably different to the sand where, as I said, it's made up of these kind of brick-like textures. But we're going to use this on the kitchen floor. We're going to make a sandstone kitchen floor with this block. I'm going to head inside now in this very dark kitchen and start building that floor. In Beta 1.2, although the sandstone block was added, it doesn't generate anywhere in the world naturally yet. It's really quite an expensive block to craft, considering that a stack of 64 sandstone blocks costs 256 sand to craft. Even though this floor only required 135 sandstone blocks to lay, it still cost me 540 sand to craft. And here is our sandstone floor. I think it's looking pretty decent. Now, if you remember the last kitchen, we built everything out of iron blocks, and I'm not going to go as expensive this time around. I'm just going to build quite a fairly big kitchen bench like this, probably 2 blocks deep on each of these sides, and I want to have something along the edge like this because I think an island kitchen bench just like this is going to look all that a little bit better, I think. There we go. Yeah, I like that. So you can walk down the hallway There's a kitchen bench on one side, and then you can walk through here and you're in the main kitchen. Maybe we will even put an island bench in the middle of the kitchen like this and cover up some of that new and expensive sandstone floor that we just laid. But hey ho, that's just how it is, right? And over this side, we can probably have some chests and cupboards and things like that, or maybe a refrigerator. Who knows? I've got a bit of building ahead of me. Oh, it's so dark in here. I'm not sure what to do about that yet. But I'm looking forward to finishing this kitchen before the end of the episode. As you can see, I've gone ahead and, well, I've pretty much finished this kitchen now. It's all laid out nicely. I think it's come together quite well. And I want to fill that kitchen sink behind me with some water. But I don't want to use a regular boring Minecraft water. Oh no. I want to have a look at one more block in the game that we are yet to look at. And it has to do with this here in my hand, the lapis lazuli. As you know, this is an exceptionally rare ore in the game at the moment. When you do find it and break the ore block, you only get one piece of lapis per lapis lazuli ore block. So it's exceptionally expensive. I've gone out into the world and I've managed to find some of these, but it's still been pretty rare for me. So this is going to deplete my supplies completely. But I think that's fine. It's worth it. Now, what exactly can we do with this? Well, in a crafting bench, if we just put the lapis lazuli pieces in the crafting grid like so, we get ourselves the lapis lazuli block. Let's have a look at this thing. It's very, very blue. It's got a sort of dirty blue texture. It's a little hard to see in the darkness here, so I might take it outside and have a better look. Now that we're outside, we have a chance to see this a little bit more clearly. As you can see, it's quite bright in terms of its blueness, and it is quite a dirty texture in that there are these dark turquoise cyan-y colours all mixed in with that blue. I think it's a very interesting block. I'm not really sure what you would use it for in building other than a few exceptions here and there, but I know that this block is going into my kitchen sink. Here we are. I've got two of them here, so let's make some space for them. Put in the lapis lazuli water. Doesn't that look a little strange? Actually, the textures do connect quite well, which is quite a nice little side effect. And let's put some of these here. These are the taps that are running the water into the sink. Yep, I would say that looks pretty effective. I've double checked the list and that's pretty much everything. It definitely took us a long time to get through beta 1.2, and before I upgrade to beta 1.2_01, there are a couple of quick mentions that I want to make. First is that since it was introduced, the top texture of the furnace used to be a stone texture, but now it's got its very own top texture, which makes this furnace feel more complete. Additionally, although a lot of feature development was going into the game around this time, there were also performance improvements going into the code to help the game cope with lag better. Because Minecraft attracted a technical community, there were plenty of active modders modding the game, and there were developers out there building mods for the game's features, but also for its performance. Some of these were incorporated into the game's code by Notch. An early example of external code being adapted into the game was way back in InfDev 2010-04-13, when Notch added the big tree generation. This was based on some code that had been written by Paul Spooner. In beta 1.2, a mod by Scaveless called Fast Render was incorporated into the game's core code, and this improved the game's efficiency when rendering chunks. I guess this goes to show that during Minecraft's earlier development, the community was very much behind it, and Notch was also open to including community work directly into the game. But I'm not exactly sure how much longer that lasted. Now, I think it's time to take the plunge and move to beta 1.2_01. We've made it, it's beta 1.2_01. Now, normally these _XX releases are just minor bug fix versions, and in this one it's no different. It includes several different bugs being addressed, such as a temporary fix for those strange chunk visibility issues that we saw several episodes ago. Remember those? The ones where part of a chunk wouldn't even render in properly or would show blocks that weren't really there? It also fixed some issues that we covered in the last episode about the ghost mobs that were appearing and disappearing in peaceful mode. It also fixes some other glitches like lighting issues, optimizes performance, but it also resolves an issue to do with block placement, specifically about blocks behaving weirdly when placed, like torches and things like that. And since we used that on our space light in the middle of the living room, and we had a look at that in the last couple of episodes, I think that that's one we should definitely revisit. This is the first version since Beta 1.0 to stop showing only the finally beta splash text on the front main menu, and this version goes back to the normal random text that we see for those splash messages. So let's run into the living room and have a quick look at the space light and make sure that it's still working as we expect it to be. Oh, wonderful, wonderful. It does appear as if the buttons are still floating in midair, which is perfect because I'm hoping that they'll just stay like that for a very, very long time. And there were a couple more of them that I placed down here which were bizarrely linked. That were these two here that link to this button, and they're still doing that. I've got a couple of other buttons here and I want to test them because I should be able to place a button on the side of a block like this, but if I place it on the floor, that's where the bug would kick in. So let's see what happens if I place it down. It places on the side of the block up here, so it looks like the strange bug is now fixed. And I want to also check this out with a torch because up here in, let's find a corner. Where's a corner? Here's a corner. If I placed a torch on the side of the block, it would work normally. But if I placed it on the solid face of the block on the top, it wouldn't place correctly. So let's have a look. And now it is placing correctly just as we expect it to. So although that bug didn't really give us any advantage, this one certainly did, so I'm very happy we still have our space light. One of the other changes made in this version is that mob spawn rates has been reduced. I don't know by how much, and I don't know if it applies to passive or hostile mobs, but just having a look around this general area, I haven't seen any passive mobs appearing anywhere at all. And as we know, during the earlier versions of this game, they're just everywhere. There's a pig and another pig, but notice there's not very much else. Normally I'm just used to this area being absolutely full of mobs. Even if I kill them all off, they just reappear really, really quickly. So perhaps that is an effort to make the mobs less annoying, and I'm going to be curious to see how we go on the first night to see if it affects hostile mobs at all. I have no scientific way of measuring it, but I guess I can go out there and just estimate, right? Now you may remember that back in Alpha 1.0.11, slimes were added to the game. We first encountered these in the caves beneath the Alpha House base, but they weren't in the game for very long. In Alpha 1.0.13, the spawn rates were reduced, but in Alpha 1.0.14, their spawning was completely disabled due to a problem with their spawning code, meaning that they were only spawning in strange locations. Apparently slime spawning still worked in multiplayer, though I never tested that. But by Alpha 1.2.0, slime spawning had been completely disabled. Well, now in version 1.2_01, slimes are back, but they're currently rare because unlike more modern versions of Minecraft, they'll only spawn between Y levels 0 to 16, and they require a fair bit of space to spawn in as well. Although they were only supposed to spawn in the deep layers, there were some reports from around this time that slimes were also spawning on the surface in snowy tundras. So we'd better get out our hiking gear and see if we can see what's going on. Armed and defended to the teeth, I've been out here in this icy tundra for the last evening, exploring the surrounding area, and this is even new chunks. Across from where I'm standing over that way is where I have been going out to the tundra to find spruce wood and do a bit of mining, and these are the areas that I've shown on camera before as well. But I crossed this icy area here and generated new chunks, and overnight I didn't see any slime spawning up here on the surface. So what I'm going to do is spend a little bit of time down. Oh, lag spikes. See, we really are generating new chunks. I'm going to spend a bit of time underground now, see if I can make it down here somewhere between levels 0 and 16 and see if we can find ourselves a slime. I'm down here in a hole. A little bit of time's passed for me since that last clip because I really wanted to try and find a slime now that they've been reintroduced to the game. So I've dug out a couple of layers deep underground to try and see if I can encourage some slimes to spawn. But all I've been getting are zombies, creepers, spiders and skeletons. Getting to this point was already a struggle, like how I accidentally blew up my pickaxe by throwing it at a creeper. or how I sacrificed my gold ore to make golden pickaxes just to help speed up mining out this little spawning room that little bit quicker. But that wasn't the stupidest thing I did. Oh no. In fact, I didn't even catch this on camera, but let me tell you what happened. I was exploring this cave system, and whenever I do that, I always pick up ores and materials along the way that help keep my supplies up, and today was no different. I'd found a few stacks of iron, some gold, and I'd even found a couple of saddles in a spawner chest. I was doing pretty well on diamonds too. I had about 12 of them, which is pretty good for a caving session like this. Then I saw it. Even more blue shinies in the wall sparkling at me. So I ran over to mine them and threw myself right into a giant pool of lava. I lost everything I was carrying. But it was okay, because nothing was really that important. We have loads of diamonds at home and we can always get more iron. But there's always a lesson to be learned in this game about rushing into things unprepared. Anyway, I've been down here for several hours now, just running back and forth trying to encourage some slimes to spawn, but sadly, nothing. Hopefully we'll encounter one again soon. Now you may have been wondering what was going on with this painting. Well, Beta 1.2 was supposed to introduce a new painting called Burning Skull, but this is definitely not what we expected to see. And that's because somebody forgot to add the painting texture into the game files. Oops. But the reason we're seeing a purple grid is because of the way Minecraft's painting textures worked during this phase of the game. All of the paintings were stored in a single image file. This file was divided up into tiles, and individual paintings are assigned to one or more tiles to occupy in the image, depending on their size and shape. There are 96 tiles in total, so plenty of room for expansion for new paintings of all sorts of shapes and sizes. If a new painting does get added to the game, it needs to be assigned a set of tiles based on its size and shape, and the painting's texture is then overlaid into those tiles. When the game displays the painting in-game, it's displaying the contents of the appropriate tiles assigned to that painting. So if someone forgot to add the texture, then the game is going to display whatever it finds, and that happens to be the placeholder graphic. This will get fixed, and when it does, we'll take a closer look at this painting and also hang it up in our art gallery. Look at us actually making upgrade progress again. That makes me happy. Here I am, just finished up this little house up here, slowly expanding the area and making it feel a little bit more lived in. I need some good ideas for ways of making early beta Minecraft feel more lived in. I mean, the only kind of accent blocks I have are things like fence posts, and I put some furnaces in the ground and just things like that to break up the monotony of the textures. But, you know, there's no barrels or, well, there are chests, I suppose, but there are a lot of things that future Minecraft has to jazz up a build that we don't currently have access to in these versions. So I would love to hear some feedback, and that way you can help me make this thing come to life. But for now, that's the end of the episode. In the next episode, we shall be upgrading again, so look forward to that. But until then, I want to say thank you for watching. Thank you again to my patrons. Your support means the world, and I will see you in the next episode. Until then, this has been bugmancx. You've been watching Minecraft The Journey. Bye bye!